affect our eating habits too. So the main objective of this presentation is to the participants to understand what is the concept of health, mental health, what is the healthy foods, and you will also understand like how the food will going to support us, especially for our overall well-being. Then also like understanding how the food provides the nutrients and helps to carry out the functions properly. So the first and the foremost question to you all, are you all healthy?
Yes, madam.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, madam.
Yes.
Based on what will you going to say you are all healthy because you don't have a illness?
Yes, madam. You don't have any illness.
Why are you telling you are healthy?
Balanced life, ma'am. We don't feel any pains or any
So
pressures.
you are leading a balanced life. Okay, you're all talking in terms of physical or mental also?
Both, ma'am. Both.
Both. Yeah, that is true. So if somebody asks you, are you healthy? Being a healthy means it is always you have to consider how your body is functioning and how you are keeping your balance. That is mainly with regard to mind and the body, and also fulfilling the life, like all kind of and working together. We're going to say it is a healthy. So in that context, it is necessary we have to understand the meaning of health. So according to the WHO, that is a World Health Organization, health is a state of complete physical, mental, social well-being, not just merely the absence of the diseases or infirmity. This is a standard definition everywhere we use this. And if we see the definition for physical health, mental health, all that, see, physical health always it is defined based on how our body is functioning. So here the individual's body's growth, how we feel, how we move, and how we take care of our body, and what are all the things which contributes for our body growth or functioning, that what the physical health means. So here, to maintain the physical health, it is necessary we have to have a regular physical activity, and we have to have a good nutrition. Along with that, even taking a proper rest, that is sleep, is also matters a lot. So there are certain criteria which indicates that we the people are physically healthy. Like you should have a normal height, weight, and body mass index according to your age. Then your body should be very active with a regular movement and exercises, and no serious illnesses or of the chronic conditions with which the person suffering from. And an average 7 to 9 hours of proper sleep is required for adults. And even we should have a healthy appetite and digestion. See, some people will say, I don't have an appetite to eat, so they will eat their lunch somewhere around 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, like that. So all these again indicates you are not physically healthy. That's why it is necessary these criteria, these are all the minimum criteria which you are supposed to consider to say you are physically healthy. Then coming to social health, what is social health? Like social health is all about being connected and belonging. See, most of the time how we build the relationship with other people, or how we maintain or sustain with the relationship, and if any conflicts arises in the society, how you are going to resolve this, and what type of the positive social networking you are going to have, that indicates our social health. So that's why it is always necessary for an individual to build a good rapport with the people, So it can be a colleagues, it can be a neighbors, or it can be anybody with you you are going to interact. So casual chats with the workers during the lunch break can also contributes a lot for our social health. And also respecting the boundaries in relationship, like it is indicates that how you understand it, how you are honor the setting limits within the relationship. Some people may have lost their mental health, and you want to tease those persons, so that again will also going to affect. That's why all these health issues are connected. So if they are emotionally, physically, personally not healthy, then the social health is also going to be affected. So some of the criteria to say a person is socially healthy, the first and the foremost is we have to have a good communication skills. Like we should know with whom we are talking and how we are addressing them. All that is very, very important. The second thing is even we have to use the respectful way of maintaining or of supporting the relationship. And we should also have an ability to connect with the other peoples, even with the various situations. So that's why we always have to be socially healthy in there. Like somebody can be approachable, okay? Or whenever you're going to meet the people, you should respectfully wish or greet each other. And you have to interact in such a way that you have to nurture your relationship. And always it is necessary, we have to keep on building our relationship with the others. So we have to try a new things. And also we are never blame the others or judging the others. Say the first and the foremost interaction is very important. Then only we can take a decision. Simply judging with a single interaction is always negative for our social health. The third aspect, according to the definition, that is a mental health. When we say mental health, it encompasses the emotional, psychological, and social well-being. See, mainly it influences or it deals with how the individual think, feel, or act. So that's why in the mental health, we always discuss the three important components. One is the emotional well-being, second one is the psychological well-being, and the third one is the social well-being. So it is a more of a comprehensive kind of a thing. See, if the person have an ability to manage the emotions, express the feelings appropriately according to the situation, then we say the person is emotionally healthy. Psychologically, where the person should understand what type of self abilities are there, self acceptance is there, what are all the personal growth, and what we are doing or what type of purpose we are having in our life. So social well-being, again, it also indicates the capacity to form a healthy relationship and contributes to the society. So most of the time in the mental health domain, we always try to use three important terminologies: mental illness, mental health, and mental wellness. When we say mental illness, always that refers to the diseases or disorders. See, these are all the conditions which affect our mood or thinking or of behavior. And mental illnesses can be in many forms: depression, anxiety, aggression, all that can be considered under the mental illnesses. And always these mental illnesses will be present in the individual until we recovered from that conditions. When it comes to the mental health, it always refers to the way we think, the way we behave, the way we control our emotions. That's why this mental health indicates our thinking ability, feeling, and the behavior. So mainly how individual handles the stress, how the person relates himself or herself with the others, and how they can make the choices. So always this mental health fluctuates between good to poor, depending upon our mood, depending upon our behavior, depending upon our experiences. See, mental wellness, it is a positive mental health always. How we are maintaining, striving ourselves for keeping our mental wellness is that is equivalent to working towards a good mental health. See, always this is considered as a proactive approach that helps us in keeping ourselves healthy. So some of the importance of mental health in our life. There is one thing is mental health always determines whether physically we are healthy or not. And also it always influences on our mood, and whether sometimes if we are always end up with one or the other kind of an issues, then we feel no, I am not worthy enough to live. That will leads to the suicidal tendencies. That's why mental health always helps us in realizing how worthy we are, and it boosts the confidences, and it is one of the key element which helps us in attaining the personal success in our life. And not only with a personal life, even social life, our relationship, all these are depends upon our mental health. And this mental health also helps us in increasing our productivity in our work life, and even our safety issues are connected with mental health. ಸಿ ಕೆಲವು ಸಲ ನೀವು ಐ ಥಿಂಕ್ ಕನ್ನಡ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಅನ್ಕೋತೀನಿ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ. ಸೊ ಹಗ್ಗ ತುಳಿದ್ರು ನಾವು ಹಾವು ಅನ್ಕೋತೀವಿ, ಯಾಕೆಂದ್ರೆ ವಿ ಡೋಂಟ್ ಗಿವ್ ಅ ಪ್ರಾಪರ್ ಅಟೆನ್ಷನ್ ಕಾನ್ಸಂಟ್ರೇಷನ್ ಟುವರ್ಡ್ಸ್ ದಟ್, ಅಂಡ್ ವಿ ಆಲ್ರೆಡಿ ಇನ್ ಸಫರಿಂಗ್ ವಿತ್ ಒನ್ ಆರ್ ದಿ ಅದರ್ ಕೈಂಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಇನ್ ಇಶ್ಯೂಸ್. ಸೊ ಹಗ್ಗನ್ ತುಳಿದ್ರು ನಾವು ಹಾವು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಕೊಳ್ಳೋದು. ಸೊ ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಮೆಂಟಲ್ ಹೆಲ್ತ್ ಆಲ್ಸೋ ಅಫೆಕ್ಟ್ಸ್ ದಿ ಸೇಫ್ಟಿ, and mental health helps to face the challenges whatever it comes in our life, and our quality of life depends upon our mental health status. So some of the criteria which indicates that we are mentally or emotionally very healthy. See how we handle the stress or emotions. See sometimes for example in the working places, if head of the institution or the boss is going to say something, even though you're emotionally suffering with something which has happened in the morning in your home environment, that may have a reflect. That's why you should know how to handle your stress, your emotions, and always we have to look at the things in a positive way, and we have to have a good self-esteem. When we say self-esteem is nothing but the way you respect yourself, the way you grade yourself, and always you have to focus on the issues, and you have to make a wise decision. Then you have to maintain a healthy relationship, and even like for a small things you shouldn't get upset, or you shouldn't have anxiety or a depression for that. You should know how to handle it, these things. So some of the factors which influences, usually the factors are classified into 3 categories. One is a biological, second one is a psychological, third one is a sociological. So when we say biologically, like it depends upon our genetics or brain chemistry, how our physical health is at that condition. All these things can influences on mental health. Then psychological, where the personal experiences, see the way you are feeling, the self-worth, self-image, emotions, then coping skills, all these things considered as the psychological factor which influences on our mental health. Then coming to the sociology, again the relationship. If any negative life events occurs, for example, the death or a divorce, if it has occurred in the family, then socioeconomic status, the culture, education, work, then access to support and family dynamics have an impact on the mental health. So these are all the main categories, like which we call it as a determinants for health in general, because our body is made up of a complex structure. So that is influenced by hereditary, environment, our lifestyle. So when we say lifestyle, it is the nutrition, healthcare, exercises, and the way we try to be away from the stress, like freedom from the stress. These things influences on our health aspect. So we are moving towards the nutrition, because if we have to know the healthy foods, then we should know the definition of nutrition. When we say nutrition, it is a science subject. So here through this subject, we try to understand how the body obtains or uses the nutrients which are all available through the food. That in turn helps for growth, energy production, and also like which take care of our tissues, repair work, maintenance of health. So that's why we say nutrition is all about how the food impacts our health and the growth. And usually when we say nutrition, it is the food which supplies the essential nutrients. When we say essential nutrients, these are the nutrients which are all needed for the body for proper growth, development, and also maintenance. So here the nutrients are classified into two groups. One is a macronutrient, other one is a micronutrient. When we say macronutrient, these are all required in a larger quantities. When we say micronutrient, it requires in a smaller quantity. So most of the time, when we say macronutrient, it is the nutrients that is needed in more than 100 grams per day. So carbohydrate, protein, fats are considered or grouped as a macronutrients. Vitamins, minerals are considered as a micronutrients. So these macronutrients are very, very essential, and we consider these three as a building blocks for the cell, and also it provides us the energy so that we can able to carry out our functions, repair of all the body systems. Whereas vitamin and minerals mainly needed because these are all required to carry the various functions, the minor functions. So that's why they say that the million chemical reactions takes place in our body that is going to influence us. So these are all the important essential nutrition. So as you all aware, the protein very, very essential to build the new tissues, and also it protects the non-fat muscles, helps for the production of several hormones in our body, and it is a rich sources of protein which includes in the dairy products. For example, milk, egg, soya, meat, pulses are all rich in protein. Then coming to the carbohydrate, again, this is also very, very essential for our growth and development. And also depending upon this, like our metabolism, how our body carry out the various digestion, then absorption, all that comes under the metabolism, and it keeps the individual active throughout the day. And carbohydrate, like especially potatoes, grains, and the breads, wheat, all these, even our rice, all these are all the rich sources for the carbohydrate. Then coming to the fat, like it provides the warmth and energy to the body because the fat deposition will be there, and it helps to produce the various hormones. Again, nuts and oil seeds are all rich in the fats. Then coming to the vitamins and the minerals, like these are all very, very essential. Even in a smaller quantity, it is very, very much required. And dairy products, meat, eggs, all these includes this vitamin and the minerals. Then the dietary fiber. This is another thing everywhere in our diet. We always talk about the dietary fiber because these fibers are all very, very helpful for our digestion. See, even though this dietary fiber required to prevent the various diseases, like for example, the diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, and even to regularize or normalize your bowel movement, if we have a high dietary fibers in our meal or food, that helps us in having the easy bowel movement. So broccoli, berries, dried fruits, whole grains are all rich in the dietary fibers. Then another important thing which I've also mentioned here, that is a water. So when we say water, as you all aware, 60 to 70% of our body is made up of water. And these water content is very much required for chemical reactions, whatever it takes place in the body. And also it helps to keep our cell functioning and even to alive these functions along with us. So we will just look into the importance of water. One thing is, whatever the water we consume, that helps us in keeping our body hydrated so that it prevents the fatigue, headache, or dehydration. Then this, as I said, for all the functioning, we need to have water. So even for digestion and nutrient absorption can be done with the help of the water content. So this helps in breaking down the food and also transporting the nutrients from one region to the other region throughout the body. Then especially this water content, like again, helps for the joint and muscle health. Like it acts as a lubricants and also helps to have a cushioning kind of an effect with our tissues. So in turn, it prevents the cramps and stiffness. Then even for the blood circulation, this water is very, very important because it supports the blood volume and also prompts for proper circulation. Then another important thing is it helps to regulate our body temperature because we always keep sweating and respirating, or for all that thing, gas exchange everywhere. This body temperature regulation is need to be taken care. So water helps in regulating this. Then detoxification, where any toxins or a waste product which is present in the urine or a sweat, that can be put it out with the help of the water. Then skin health, again, if it is skin hydrated, then it looks glowing and healthy. Then to carry out the brain functioning, water is very, very important because our mood and cognitive performance depends upon the brain. And if brain has a proper supply of all these nutrients through water, through blood, then only it is easy to carry out the brain function. So water is a life. It supports every cell, organ, and the system in the body. So earlier, we used to have a food pyramid with the food ingredients. But nowadays, in the food pyramid, they also included the water as the basic layer because it clearly indicates the necessity of the water consumption. They say that at least more than 2 liters of water per day we have to drink. Then the importance of nutrition, like good nutrition always helps us to carry out our body functions properly, and always we will stay in pink of health. Pink of health indicates we are in a good condition. So for that, macronutrient, and water are very, very key components which helps us in taking care of our health. So that's why to have a normal growth and development, to have an energy, to have an immunity, and also to carry out the brain functioning, improves the concentration, it prevents the nutritional deficiencies, chronic diseases, and also promotes the physical and mental well-being. So food is very, very important for keeping ourselves very healthy in all the domains. So coming to the food groups. See, we understood what is the nutrition, what are all the essential nutrients which are required for health. Now we will look into the basic concepts of food groups. See, for our own betterment or for understanding the things, the foods have been categorized into 10 groups, so that we can make the choices from all these groups. So adequate quantities of food from at least 5 to 7 food groups should be consumed daily. ದಿನಕ್ಕೆ ಒಂದು 5ರಿಂದ 7 ತರದ ಫುಡ್ಗಳನ್ನ ನಾವು ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ, 7 ಟೈಮ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ, ವೆರೈಟೀಸ್ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀವಿ. So even other foods may be consumed at least 2 to 3 times a week. So for example, the variety of food groups, if we consume, then the most of the nutrients is available to our body, like especially essential amino acids, which are all made up of protein. That is very, very important for our growth and development. Essential fatty foods, vitamins, mineral, phytonutrients like phytochemicals, which are all present. fiber, bioactive substances. All these are all very much required for carrying out our body functioning. So even some spices like turmeric, cumin, then ginger, garlic, cinnamon, all these are all very rich in antioxidants, and these antioxidant is also required to fight against the various free radicals. So that's why all these things should be a part of our balanced diet. So these are all the 10 food groups you can notice, like cereals and the millets, rice, wheat, millets, and other cereals are considered as the cereals, whereas pulses like green gram, chickpea, rajma, all that considered under the kalugalu anta ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತೀರಿ ಅದು. Then vegetables, nuts and oil seeds, fats like peanuts, walnuts, almond, all these things. Then green leafy vegetable, fruits, dairy products like milk, curds, buttermilk, roots and tubers, then flesh foods like anything. It can be poultry, meat, fish, all that. Then spices and herbs. These are the main 10 food groups which we have to consider while having a just a minute, a nimsham. Sorry. So these are all the 10 food groups. Then we should know the meaning of diet. What do you mean by diet? See, we people generally uses this diet as cutting down of something, not eating of something. But in real sense, diet is different. ಈಗ ಕೆಲವರು ಯಾರಾದ್ರೂ ನಾನು ಇದನ್ನ ತಿನ್ನಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಹೇಳ್ತೀರೋ ಡಯಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ಯಾ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. That is wrong. The concept itself is a wrong. So when we say diet, like whatever the food or a drink usually we consumed, on the whole, it's what we call it as a diet. So that's why this diet comprises a variety of food and providing adequate amount of nutrients which are all needed for our good health. So that's why it is a plan, eating plan. Okay. So usually nowadays we say that we are following veg, non-veg diet or vegan diet, vegetarian diet, like that, the vegetarian, all that different types of diets they uses. Then even how to lose our weight or to maintain the weight management again. So all that things we say it is the diet which helps us in doing it. And even when we are eating, we have to have a balanced diet. So when we say balanced diet, always that means right type of food in a right amount which supplies the nutrition and energy so that we can take care of our functions. That's what. ನೀವು ಎಷ್ಟು ತಿಂತೀರಿ, ಎಷ್ಟು burn ಮಾಡ್ತೀರಿ. So the calories consumed and the calories burned, when these two are balanced or equal, then only we say that is a balanced diet. For example, a person requires 2000 kilocalories, but he or she consumes more than 2500, and physical activity wisely, if you look into, the person is very, very sedentary in nature. In such condition, the calories consumed will be very high and the calories burned will be very less. So that's why they say that calorie intake should be equal to the calories put out. So that's why they say that the right proportion of carbohydrates, protein, fats, vitamin, mineral, fiber, water, everything should be in a proper amount. So calorie is nothing but the unit of energy. And measurement of calories in food is measures how much potential energy we are going to get from that food. So balanced diet is a wholesome and nutritionally adequate diet, and the 4 key essential nutrients always make up the balanced diet. So the right side I have shown the fruits, fiber rich, carbohydrate, protein, fats. These are the 4, and in a different proportionates we are supposed to consume this. So top of the list are the fruits and vegetables, like where you can notice it is a 40% of our calories should be met from that. And protein, fiber rich carbs, and food fats, say somewhere around 25 to 25% is required. And again, a balanced diet can be achieved by eating the diverse food. See, there is no single food which going to supplies all the essential nutrients. ಇದೊಂದೊಂದು ತಿಂದ್ರೆ ಸಾಕು ನಮ್ಗೆ ಬೇರೆ ಫುಡ್ ತಿನ್ನೋದೇ ಬೇಡ ಅನ್ನುವಂತ ಹೇಳುವಂತ ಯಾವ ಪದಾರ್ಥವೂ ಇಲ್ಲ. You have to have a variety of food in your diet. So the quantity of foods needed to meet the nutrient requirement always depends upon the age, gender, physiological status. Physiological status andre ivaga pregnant women ಗೆ extra calories na ಕೊಡಬೇಕಾಗುತ್ತೆ. So physical activity, like if it is a sports person, then they need more higher quantity of nutrients. So balanced diet should provide not more than 45 calories of energy from the cereals and the millets. See, and up to 15% of calorie from pulses, beans, and the meat. See, nowadays even nutri cereals, which is a diversified staple with the millets, ನೀವೆಲ್ಲ ಇವಾಗ ಕೇಳಿರ್ಬೋದು ನವಧಾನ್ಯಗಳನ್ನ ತುಂಬಾ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮ್ ಮಾಡೋದು, ಅದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಅವೇರ್ನೆಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗಿದೆ. So all these are all very much required. And my plate for the day, this is one of the ideal dietary balanced food developed by ICMR, National Institute of Nutrition. So with a simple guidance, it is possible for an individual to achieve a balanced diet by going for these kind of things. So 50% to 55% of total calories should be met from the carbohydrate, 10 to 15% from protein, and 20 to 30% from the dietary fats. And it varies, again, as I said, it depends upon the age, gender, and the physiological status. And this is a food pyramid. For an example, like if an individual required 2000 kilocalorie per day, then how these calories can be distributed from the different variety of sources. In such condition, like 400 grams of vegetable, 100 grams of fruits every day should be consumed, and cereals and nutra-cereals is at 250 grams, and milk curds somewhere around 300 ml, and pulses, legumes 85, then nuts and oilseeds 35 grams, fats and oils it is 27, because fat is also very much needed. You can't completely cut down the fat from your diet. So some of the importance of balanced diet during the different stages of life, like across the lifespan, like starting from the birth till the death, like every individual need to take care of their balanced diet. See, in case of infancy, like you can notice that is a very, very rapidest growth and development takes place during the first 6 months of life. So for the growth and development, the balanced diet is very much required. And it is by nature, God's grace, like up to 6 months, the baby should be exclusively breastfed. Bari tayi ede hal kotre matra saku. There is no need to give any extra food for the babies. So 6 ತಿಂಗಳು exclusive breastfeeding is advised. Then coming to the infant and young children, where 6 months to 2 years, again, that is a period of rapid growth and development, and also in terms of brain development. So that's why after 6 months, the baby should be supplemented. Complementary feedings or supplementary feedings ಎಲ್ಲ ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಹೋಗ್ತಾರೆ. Like breast milk to be continued, and nutrient rich complementary foods. ನೀವು ಇವಾಗ ಮನೆಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ರಾಗಿದ್ ಸರಿ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಪ್ರಿಪೇರ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಕೊಡ್ತೀರಾ. ಹಾಗೇನೆ ಬರ್ತಾ ಬರ್ತಾ 2-3 ಕಾಂಬಿನೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ, ಲೈಕ್ ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಕೊಡ್ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ you will use only one staple food, then gradually you will going to keep on adding the different things. Then again for children of 2 to 6 years, you can notice that is again the up to 6 year tanka, the brain development will be so rapid. So to maintain the growth, development and the cognitive cognition, they need to have a balanced food. Then adolescence, that is 10 to 19 years, especially in the early adolescence period, they need to have a proper food, because that is the age of biological maturation, which you can notice. So growth spurt will be there. So again, they have to take care of balanced diet. Then coming to the adults, again, after 18-20 years early, see certain extent of growth cessation you can notice, but they need the balanced diet for working, like productivity, prevent the diet related diseases. And if it is a mother is pregnant or lactating stage, then they need to meet an extra nutritional requirements for childbearing or of rearing. Then coming to the elders, this was earlier not given much importance, but now because of the technological advancement, the people can live up to 80-90 years. So for being physically active and healthy, again, the balanced diet is very much required for these people. So coming to what are all healthy foods? So healthy foods, definitely, which provides the essential nutrients so that our body can grow, stay strong, or functions properly without adding any harmful substances like excessive sugar, salt, or unhealthy fats. So healthy foods andandre which provides the rich vitamins, minerals, fiber, protein, and healthy fats. And as far as possible, better to go for a natural, minimally processed food rather than going for a processed food. So whole foods can be used. If, for example, whole wheat flour is more nutritious than going for a maida. Okay, then always better to go for a food cooked at home rather than going out and having it. So even like nowadays, as you are aware, India has become a capital of the diabetes. So the sugar complaints or of the issues connected with the diabetes is very high. So that's why nowadays all the healthy food says that very, very little amount of sugar to be consumed, and that can be given for the children or of adolescents during their growing period. But once the growth is ceased, then they should maintain minimal or nominal sugars. And also salt or trans fats should be very low in our diet. And even we are supposed to avoid using of preservatives and the chemicals in our food. ಈಗ ಕೆಲಸೆಲ್ಲ ಮಕ್ಕಳಿಗೆ ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ ಕಾಣಿಸ್ಲಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು food colors they are going to use it. That is not at all advisable, even though permissible level of chemicals they might have used, but it is everyday consumption again leads to various other complications. So some of the healthy foods example I had listed here. Along with all these foods, vegetable, whole grain, protein, health, fat, water is very, very important. Then only we can say that we ate healthy foods. So what does this healthy foods look like? Like most of the time, fiber rich, then starch and sugars, which you can notice in your carbohydrate foods. Like for example, whole grain, whenever you're going to use, that indicates the fiber, starch, and the sugars. Even nowadays, everywhere you can notice that people are going for brown rice, oats, quinoa, all that. Then coming to the protein, which is very required for build or repair your tissues, support immune health, create enzymes and hormone. So if vegetarian or a non-vegetarian, depending on that. And as you all aware, especially meat, poultry, fish, eggs, all these are all rich in proteins. Dairy products, then lentils, chickpeas, all these are all for a vegetarian. Then coming to the fats also, there are two types of fats, saturated and unsaturated. Again, it is very, very important for absorbing the fat soluble vitamins and also helps for the brain and cell health. So that's why omega-3 and omega-6, especially whatever they're going to get it from the fish or from the nuts, seeds, avocados, like the butter fruits and the olive oil, these are all very, very important. And unsaturated are more preferable than your saturated oil or trans fat oils. Then coming to the vitamins, as you're aware, the 13 essential vitamins are there, which are grouped as vitamin A, C, D, E, K, B vitamins. And all these are all very, very essential for our vision, bone health, immunity, energy metabolism. So fruits, vegetable, dairy products, fortified cereals are encouraged. Then coming to the minerals, calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, sodium, potassium, chloride, sulfur. All these are all very much required for the bone health and also to transport the oxygen and to regulate the Then coming to water, again to maintain hydration, regulate the body temperature, and to helps or promote the digestion and to remove the toxins, it is very much required. So drinking water, fruits and vegetables, juices, all these are all advised. So I think this table may not be properly visible. This is the ICMR suggested recommended dietary allowances 2020, and here they have given how much of this cereals, pulses, things need to be given for the different age group peoples. See, if we have to know the meaning of healthy foods, then we should also understand what do you mean by unhealthy foods. See, when we say unhealthy foods, see, in a taste wise, it may be very good. But looking at the content, the calorie requirement, the sugar, salt, whatever they have used it, all these are not appropriate to the audience. It is too high or too less, or it may affect our body function. See, some of the common features which you can notice in unhealthy foods: high sugar, high added sugar. See, that again leads to obesity, diabetes, and even tooth decay, especially among children. If the food is high in salt, that is sodium, then that leads to blood pressure. Even heart diseases risk can increase. Then high in unhealthy fat, trans fats, or saturated fats, that also again harms our heart. Then highly processed foods, if we are going to use this, like preservative if it is there, or artificial flavoring they have used, or artificial coloring they have used, then also that leads to unhealthy. So these are all some of the examples of unhealthy foods. Better to avoid these food or cut down in our regular diet. Then another important concept, that is a junk food. Now ಎಲ್ಲೇ ಹೋದ್ರು ಇವತ್ತಿನ ದಿವಸ ನೋಡಬಹುದು, ಮಾರ್ಕೆಟಿಗೆ ಹೋದ್ರೆ the people will be standing in a queue to have these junk foods. Bhaji, bonda, pizza, all such things are you can notice. So junk food, yes, It's very delicious. It satisfies our taste, hunger, and also it leads to the greater business for the business person. And most of the time, it will be in an affordable pricing and also time efficient. But disadvantages, it is unhealthy. Every day we can't consume this junk foods, and it leads to weight gain and also increases our cholesterol level. So definitely these junk foods contribute for obesity, diabetes, heart diseases, and also it going to leads to poor mental health. And it can cause tiredness, mood swing, lack of focus. And if it is consumed long duration, the chronic health problems are going to be noticed. So then healthy eating. When we say healthy eating, like having a proper planning for eating the good food. Okay. It is not a strict diet, but you should aware what you are eating. Okay. So healthy eating requires no special foods, but the foods that are available at any grocery stores. And healthy eating means you have to enjoy the various foods every day, and you should get energy and essential nutrients out of it. Healthy eating plan focuses on adding a healthy food instead of taking away unhealthy foods. So pattern of eating, which can support our physical, mental, and emotional health, and also which combines the diverse and balanced food choices and individual needs for nutrients and energy to be considered. That's why a balanced, varied diet that provides the essential nutrients required for optimal health, what we call it as healthy eating. So nourishing the body and supporting our mental well-being is very, very important. So these are all some of the advantages of eating the healthy foods. Like it is easy for an individual to maintain the ideal weight, and also it strengthens the immune system. It revitalizes our body capacities. It promotes the weight loss. It improves our mental focusing ability, reduces the stress, and also it keeps our teeth bones strong and better quality of sleep you can notice. And it is easy to manage the chronic diseases and improves our digestion. Then healthy eating has become a lifestyle, and always we have to enjoy all these things, eating variety of food from all the major food groups. Whatever the 10 food groups I mentioned earlier, the same thing we have to consume it in a balanced way. So whenever we're going to depend on a balanced diet, that helps for us in having a growth and development to sustain life, maintain health, and optimum brain functioning can be there, and immune function. So that's why whenever we're going to take a eating or of anything to eat, we have to make a judicious choices and combination of variety of foodstuffs in our diet. So foods high in fiber and complex carbohydrates like whole grains, fruits, vegetables should be considered. So healthier fats like olive oil, canola oil can be used, and even unprocessed foods can be used more. And also it is another important thing nowadays, you can notice that like the people will not go out to have an exposure to the sunlight, that in turn is affecting the deficiency of vitamin D. So that's why every day we have to have at least 30 minutes of exposure to the sunlight. Then non-starchy fresh vegetables, green leafy vegetables in every meal is advisable. Take at least 30 grams of fruits in your meal. 50% of cereals and other grain is advisable. Then all cereal-based diets are accompanied by adequate pulses or beans is always indicates the good quality protein and the fiber. Then consuming the adequate quantities of nuts, oil seeds, fatty fish, restricting the cooking oil less than 25 grams per day is always advisable. And restricting the meal frequency also is advisable 2 or 3 times a day. And avoid ultra-processed food, which is high in fat, sugar, salt. And avoiding the sugar or restricting to very less is always advisable. Then not snacking in between. ತಿಂಡಿ ಪೋಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ ನೋಡಿ, ಮಧ್ಯ ಮಧ್ಯ ಸುಮ್ ತಿಂತಾನೆ ಇರ್ತಾರೆ. So that is also not advisable. Then consuming a healthy beverage is also advisable. Impact of healthy eating on physical and mental health. See, already we have seen the physical health. So nutritious diet always supports for good growth and development, maintenance of bodily function. It reduces the risk of chronic diseases, obesity, diabetes, heart diseases, and even certain cancers can be controlled, manageable. So emerging research highlights mainly with regard to the mental health, like they try to establish the connections between the diet and the mental health. Nutrient-rich foods can improve our moods and also cognitive functioning, and it lowers the risk of mental health disorders like depression and anxiety. Then coming to the effect of food, what should I eat for mentally healthy? Like again, we have to look into the research. So nowadays, this relation connections between food and mental health is an emerging area. So this is the research-based information which clearly indicates and given rise to the new subject, that is a nutritional neuroscience. It is a scientific discipline which focuses on the effect of various components of diet, like mineral, vitamin, protein, carbohydrate, fat, dietary supplement, or of any synthetic hormones, food additives, how all these are all influencing on the neurochemistry or neurobiology, behavior, and the cognition. So they are trying to give an evidences nutrition is related to mental health and the cognition. Definitely, that is proved in the research. Emerging evidences clearly states that diet intake pattern shows the lower intake of vitamins, then the person is suffering from mental disorder. Then daily supplementation of these omega-3 vitamin minerals improves the cognition conditions or of brain. Then supplementation of amino acid reduces the mental health symptoms. So if person is suffering from depression, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, obsessive compulsive disorder, for all these things, the research studies have been doing. So according to the research, these are all the 3 important nutrients essential for our brain health. So 3 main omega-3 fatty acids are very, very essential. That is alpha-linoleic acid, then eicosapentaenoic acid, then docosahexaenoic acid. These are all the 3 important omega-3 fatty acids, very much required, which are all rich sources like flaxseed, soya bean, then canola oils. Then vitamin B sources, like again some vegetables, whole grains, legumes are rich, and meat, fish, poultry, egg, leafy greens, fortified foods are good sources for this. And then antioxidants, which are all naturally found in variety of foods, particularly plant-based foods, are very much required to be consumed. And berries, blueberries, strawberries, dark chocolate, green leafy vegetables, then certain vegetable like beetroot, then artichokes, all these are all very much required for the antioxidant properties. So like vitamin E, vitamin C, vitamin selenium, all these are all very much required for our handling of oxidative stress. Then nutrition plays a crucial role in maintaining the mental health, and right nutrients significantly impact the brain functions and emotional well-being, especially serotonin, dopamine helps us in regulating the mood swings, anxiety levels, and poor nutrition can affect the neurotransmitter function, and also it exacerbate, like increases the depression and anxiety. So diet that promotes the brain health, even still research studies are going on, like Mediterranean diet, which is rich in fruits, vegetable, olive oil, whole grain, that improves the cognitive functioning and mental health. Then ketogenic diet, again, this is, they are using it not for everyone, it is advisable. Only the person who is suffering from epilepsy or bipolar disorder, if they are suffering from, then only they are asked to go for a ketogenic. Otherwise, it is not advisable for a normal individual. Then plant-based diet is very much required. So that reduces the anxiety and the depression among the people. So the diets high in refined sugars are often associated with mood disorders, including depression. And conversely, the diet rich in vegetables, fruits, unprocessed, fish, so the lower incidence of depression and anxiety. So food processing, like nowadays, less processed foods are advisable rather than going for a processed food. So where the technology they have, or some techniques they have used, so that they want to reduce the deterioration, or they want to keep the shelf life of the food for a longer period. So processed foods are foods that have been changed mechanically and chemically on a domestic or a commercial level. So that, like, these are all the things which you can see. Various spectrum of processed foods we have been consuming in our daily life. So these are all the healthy processed foods, less processed foods that need to be consumed daily. So these are all ultra processed food, which we must stop eating this. Chocolates, processed meat, then crispy things, ಅದ್ರಲ್ಲೂ ಈ ಕವರ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾಕಿ ಕೊಡ್ತಾರೆ ನೋಡಿ, ಇಂಥವೆಲ್ಲ ತಿನ್ಬಾರ್ದು. Processed cheese, slice, fizzy drinks, pre-packaged cakes, muffins should be avoided. So in the processed food, there will be a lack of essential nutrients. Again, that will lead to illnesses, or it affects the brain health. Then impact on brain functioning, like cognitive functioning, emotional regulation, all these risks will be very high. Sugar high adre, again the mood swings you can notice, blood sugar level will be spiked, and it fluctuates, irritability will be there, and the fatigue you can notice. Unhealthy fat, like especially trans fat, saturated fat, are commonly noticed in processed food. That is linked with the inflammation in the body. Andre infections ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. It is associated and helping you to develop a mental health disorder. Microbiome health, like nowadays many research studies have been focused on gut microbiota, and they are trying to see, like, if something goes wrong with the gut microbiome, then we are going to have the ill health. See, gut microbiota is nothing but like the microorganism which grows in our gut region, and very good microbiotas are also there. Sometimes it leads to harmful bacteria's growth that in turn affects our health. So even imbalanced gut microbiome are linked, according to the research, with anxiety and depressive symptoms. And healthy gut bacteria produces the neurotransmitters like serotonin. All these are all very much required for mood regulation. And even many research studies indicated the correlation with depression and anxiety. And they have noticed that high amount of processed food leads to the higher risk of developing mental health disorder like depression and the anxiety. Then on the long-term effect also, the research studies have been done, and chronic consumption of this processed food may lead to long-term mental health challenges, cognitive declining, then emotional instability is also noticed. Then during the adulthood period also, like to maintain the mental health, again See, that is an age where the work pressure, family responsibility, and other stressors will be high. At that time also, if the individual is not taking care of his health or diet, then it will going to affect his mental health. Then chronic stress in adulthood can also lead to poor eating habits, creating a vicious cycle which worsens the mental health. So diet high in a refined sugar, processed food increases the risk of developing anxiety, depression, and burnout. So binge eating disorder, that is another current issues, especially during the adolescence, where you can notice the adolescents suffer from anorexia nervosa, bulimia nervosa, and binge eating disorder. So these are all have a profound impact on mental health. The child may suffer with the psychological problems like low self-esteem, then social withdrawal, depression. And poor body image is another important when psychological issues with which the adolescents are suffering from. Then nutrient deficiencies. Again, for example, vitamin B, zinc, magnesium, omega-3 fatty acids are again associated with the depression. Blood sugar imbalances leads to irritability, fatigue, difficulty in concentrating. Then chronic blood sugar imbalances leads to type 2 diabetes and increase the risk of depression and anxiety. Inflammation, gut-brain connections is affected, and weight gain. Already I've mentioned about all these things. So how to boost the mental health through the better? So they always suggested some practical tips for eating a healthy foods, like always keep a balanced meals. Don't skip the meals. ಒಂದೇ ಸಲ ಬೆಳಗ್ಗೆ ತಿನ್ಬಿಡೋದು ಅಥವಾ ರಾತ್ರಿ ತಿನ್ಬಿಡೋದು, ಮಧ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಹಸ್ಕೊಂಡಿರೋದು. So don't do that. Then limit the processed foods. Mindful eating, that is again a new concept which they have brought in. Like mindful eating is nothing but you must give an attention to what you are eating, how much you are eating, and you have to enjoy the meals without any distractions. So ಊಟ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಬರೀ ಊಟ ಮಾಡೋದು ಒಂದೇ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಟಿವಿ ನೋಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಊಟ ಮಾಡೋದು ಅಥವಾ ವರ್ಕ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಊಟ ಮಾಡೋದು, all that things you should avoid. So that's why they are using the balanced approach with the mindful portion of size, mix of safe, nutrient-dense option that in turn promotes our health. Simple steps like eat balanced, avoid processed, increase omega-3 fatty acid, limits the sugar and caffeine, always drink too much of water, like stay hydrated, and incorporate the fermented food. That is also again, it is highly beneficial because the beneficial bacteria which going to supports our gut health. Then include a brain boosting supplements, omega-3 fatty acids, B vitamins iroduna jasti tagolli. Practice mindful eating, plan and prepare the meals. So in conclusion, I would like to say that eating healthy food is a cornerstone of mental well-being. A nutrient-rich diet provides the essential building blocks for brain health, stabilizes the mood, and enhances the cognitive functions, and supports the emotional resilience. Conversely, a diet high in a processed food, sugar, and unhealthy fats can contribute for mental health challenges such as anxiety and depression. So that's why by prioritizing the whole unprocessed food, maintaining a gut health, individual can foster a stronger connection between their diet and the mental state. Adapting these practices not only promotes the mental clarity, emotional stability, but also enhances the overall quality of an individual. So eating healthy food is not just about the physical health, it is a vital ingredient for healthier mind and a more balanced, fulfilling life. So healthy food for wealthy mood. Eat healthy, live long, live strong. Thank you for your mindful listening. Start practicing eating healthy food to be mentally healthy. Thank you.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, madam.
ಏನಾದ್ರೂ ಡೌಟ್ ಇದ್ರೆ ಕೇಳಬಹುದು.
Thank you, ma'am.
Stop sharing, Madla.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
I'm Rashmi, ma'am, Department of Commerce.